Hi, I'm Jamie. This is Dead Dodge Garage, and this is a pressure washer. I'm currently pointing it at my 1992 Dodge D350 ramp truck project. It might even make a difference. At least in a couple places. I'm not delusional enough to think I could ever make this cab look good, but I could take a layer of scunge off at least. It actually kind of does something to this nasty chunky stuff. Kinda. That's all well and good, but what I really want to do is clean off the frame rails. I'm going to have to be doing a bunch of work on and around these things, and they're pretty scungy. Luckily, I've got these convenient windows to spray through. That's nice. Oh yeah. That's good stuff. Oh cool. Mother Nature's helping. Watch your step. Oh yeah. Okay, there's one kind of nice panel now, the roof. You know, those cab lights might be my favorite thing about this truck. Yeah, there we go. It's exactly the same. Hey, it is a self-fixing Dodge though. The other day I accidentally bumped the key to start and it started. So much for my anti-theft device, I guess. With that job handled, let's take a minute to talk about my plans for this thing before digging in. For about a decade now, I've really wanted a ramp truck. My vision, a 12-valve Cummins engine, a ramp bed at the back, either a full ramp bed or a semi-ramp bed, dovetail or ducktail or whatever you want to call it. Everyone seems to have a different animal's tail attached to that idea. And in front of that bed and over that Cummins engine, a swept line cab. And armed with that information, it might suddenly make sense why you've been seeing this in the background of every shot here for like a really long time. The impetus for getting this whole ramp truck thing happening now is this crazy and ambitious idea I have. Given the amount of time I have to make this happen, which is just a few short weeks, a cab swap is completely out of the question. That's okay. I may do it in the future, but I also have this whole other thing cooking. Oh, so many ramp trucks. Anyway. For now, this beat first gen cab will have to do. And that's all right because it's actually pretty comfy and I'm not going to say it's quiet inside, but it's definitely quieter than the swept line will be. It's a total piece of garbage. I think I mentioned that, but it is what it is. You've probably heard by now that I called out Uncle Tony and Slaghammer for a drag race. And you may have even heard that he accepted. So I've got to get a race car to Tennessee somehow. That led many people to the question, you're not planning on putting Dale's Demon on that piece of garbage, are you? Yes. Yes, I am. But hold on. If you think I'm dumb enough to put my irreplaceable two-owner 1971 344-speed Demon on this and then tow it 5,000 miles, why would you even waste your time watching my videos? Fact of the matter is, I might be kind of dumb. I make dumb decisions sometimes anyway, but I'm not a complete moron. In my previous videos on this truck, I have stated my intention to rebuild and improve this bed before I put it to work. And that's what I'm going to do. But first, I have to explain that this truck has already been employed moving cars around like this. In fact, I bought this truck from the estate of well-known Pacific Northwest drag racing legend Dave Wren. He had a bunch of trucks very similar to this one, all for the same purpose. Put a car on the back and go to the racetrack. Despite some of the interesting comments we've gotten on this thing, ramp truck can mean many different things. In its most basic form, it's a pair of ramps on a truck. Back in the bad old days, that's what a lot of race teams used. Ugh, you have no idea how much I wish I could just own that one. It would save me so much time. Alright, my ultimate vision is a lot closer to this. The ramp truck used by the Ram Chargers in the 60s. Very cool. I wouldn't enclose the car like they did, but I would like some kind of shield up here, tire rack, probably a wing on the cab, toolboxes, storage areas. That's very important. Or that. That could work. Yeah, there you go. That's just about as basic as it could get. Notice, that truck has a much shorter wheelbase than mine. Just saying. There's a near endless selection of classic Ram trucks to look at, drool over, and copy notes off of. A lot of them are really cool. Some of them are very basic. There are some questions about wheelbase. There is a reason I selected a factory cabin chassis frame. The rear axle is further back than on a normal, say, single cab dually. Essentially, in my plan, the wheels end up right in the middle of the bed. So what I have in mind here is to hack this flatbed like there, and then build a ramp section that goes back maybe 6 feet from that point. I made a comment about cutting these ramps in half. That's why. The bed is going to be way closer to the ground, so they don't need to be this long and heavy. Hopefully at this point it's becoming obvious that I have thought about this a lot, and I have at least, let's say, 3/8 of a clue what I'm doing. The airbag kit I bought did not fit this truck. Turns out cabin chassis have the inner tires closer to the frame. But I am still hoping to find a set of airbags that'll fit. I'd really like to have the adjustability there. The biggest problem with a pure basic ramp truck is it's a one-trick pony. It can put a car on the back to go to the racetrack or whatever, and that's it. So in my genius plan, this truck ends up with as much utility as possible. Having a flat section at the front of the bed instead of a full ramp bed allows you to use it like a normal flatbed truck. We can go pick up lumber, bricks, steel, whatever we need around here. It even has stake pockets. I could put sides on it. I probably won't. My dream ramp truck has a mini boom crane right here at the front. That way, we can lift engines, transmissions, differentials, whatever needs to be lifted. Heck, we could probably change an engine at the track if we were really, really dedicated. Storage is important, especially with this tiny cab and a flat bed. So my hope is to build in a lower storage area here in the middle. Spare parts, wheels and tires, spare tire for the truck, that sort of thing will go in there. I definitely want hanging toolboxes underneath. Depending on the design, they could end up integrated into the bed itself, or maybe I just get some generic ones off a trailer or another flatbed, screw them on there and call it a day. A lot of those old school trucks had tire racks up here. I'm not carrying around extra wheels and tires just yet, so I don't need that, but it's in my long-term plan. And some kind of protection for the car from road debris, at least here at the nose. I don't want it fully enclosed, but I want something there. None of those extra things I mentioned are going to happen anytime soon. For now, I'm focusing on making the bed usable, and we'll go from there. I'm sure you're looking at what this truck is like right now and thinking that the idea that I'll be able to put a car on it and drive it 5,000 miles in like 3 weeks is impossible. You're probably right. Like I said, it's very ambitious. If I can get the bed sorted out within the next couple weeks, I will put the car on it and drive to a test and tune event. It's about 2 hours away. If this rig does really well on that adventure, I think it's going to Tennessee. And if it doesn't, that's fine. I've got a backup plan. Although the trailer needs tires too, so why a ramp truck if I've got a perfectly good modernist truck and trailer? Because it's cool? And why a swept-line cab? Because if you were a Mopar guy racing a car in the 60s and 70s, a Dodge swept-line truck like this was your go-to for your ramp truck. The only drag racers I have any interest in being involved with are classic, nostalgic ones, like the Barracuda I'm building here. It's all about that image. It's all about capturing that time period. And the ramp truck is an important part of that. Oh, one more note there. The only thing that'll ever be on the back of this truck, something like a 3,000-pound A-body. Maybe a B-body someday. Maybe. But no trucks. Nothing humongous. It'll work just fine for that. Now, if you'll excuse me, my back still hurts. I'm gonna go take a nap. All right. It's a big day for this pile of crap. For one thing, I got license plates. Yay. Of course, that position's only temporary. I don't even know if that's legal now with this bed. Anyway, now it's time to go get tires. You don't even want to know what that's going to cost. Real quick, I'm going to do us all a favor and try and fix this window. Shouldn't be too hard. I was informed by a commenter the other day that if you put a 70s window and an 80s door, the window falling off the regulator all the time is like a common problem. And that's good to know. I'm not sure if that's what happened here or not. I suspect it's original and the regulator is just wasted. I'm not totally sure. It's not pretty, I can tell you that. Aha! Yeah, looks like this track is just like totally in the wrong place. And if you go down any farther than this, it falls off. It gets even better because that regulator's so mangled, the window doesn't go all the way up. Good thing we've got a parts truck. Well, the level of safety is off the chart. Length comparison? Yeah. It's almost the same wheelbase. That means I could use one of these frames to make this way better. Yay! Money. Hover truck. Look at that. It's way less bad now. I have never put a brand new set of tires on any truck, ever. But I chose to do it with this piece of crap. What is wrong with me? Good news! Still pulls right. But so does my 3rd gen, so, you know, it is what it is. I guess I should at least eyeball the alignment one of these days. Other than that, it cruises pretty nicely. At least as nicely as an unloaded 1-ton dually flatbed with no front shocks and wasted springs can. Hey, it's not the fastest truck, but I did learn that it'll pass people at 80 on 2 lanes. Why am I smelling tomato soup? Dude, that's my car. It's exactly my car. Tell you what, by the time I've done 5,000 miles in this thing, I will be all the way deaf. Not just mostly deaf, all the way. Ooh, priceless charger parts. More on that later, of course. Why do I love this piece of garbage so much? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. I think today is D-Day for figuring out this bed situation. Mostly because I'd really like to put stone soup on it tomorrow. That would be nice. In case you needed any further evidence this thing belonged to a Mopar guy, these are classic Chrysler engine fasteners. As I mentioned, in my ideal scenario, the rear axle is right in the middle of the bed. So I measured from the front of the bed to where the axle is, and then from where the axle is back. And as you can see by that large hammer set there, it's not as far off as I initially thought. Now this is a 12-foot flatbed, which really isn't far off of what I have in mind. I thought my car trailer was way shorter, but it's actually 18 feet. Yeah, we're not gonna get an 18-foot bed on that truck. As you can see by this super precise measurement of the garbage can, a 16-foot bed would actually be behind the back of the car. A 14-foot bed, which seems a lot closer to what we're gonna end up with here, puts the rear axle there. Yeah, the car will hang off, but not by a lot. A 15-foot bed would be right there. That's an extra foot on the back, which is solely going to be for looks and extra ramp. That might just do it. Now I'm working on eyeballing the angle at the back, and this seems about right. I've got the end of this beam set there at that 3 foot past the old bed end mark, and I'm sizing it up here. Now 8 foot would be there, 9 foot there, 10 foot there. I think I like, well, there-ish. Seems all right. There-ish just happens to line up with this cross member. Unfortunately, it's also like 8.5 feet, which means 8-foot lumber won't fit. Maybe I'll end up shortening it to 8 foot as I originally planned. I could just move the whole rear cap here. That might work. Of course, it's much further back from the axle, so our departure angle will be terrible, of course. But I do have that at a similar height as this hacky cross beam with a ball mounted to it. So I think that's probably safe. The biggest concern would be bottoming out here at the middle where the two angles run into each other. I think it's okay. I think if we went any steeper, that could be a problem. All right then. Good times. Everything that you see here is terrible and has to go. I think what I would probably do is step the frame down. I've got some random chunks of steel that are currently assembled into a flatbed I'm never going to use again. So I'd probably cut them out, stick them on the bottom here, bolt and weld that, maybe put on a gusset for strength, and then that would run out and meet the bottom of our ramp. Now I have to decide what this back section is going to look like. I have a couple options. Option 1, meet this same frame at the outside, run down at that angle, fully deck it just like the top. That would work. But you know one thing I could really use on this truck? Storage space. And I have an idea for that. If the bed ends all the way up there, and all I really need is ramps out here, that could leave this whole center section as a lower deck that would be great for storage. Spare tire for the truck, maybe a toolbox, that kind of thing. If I wanted to make this really quick and dirty, I could just hack 5 feet of those ramps off, attach them to the truck, and use the rest of it as the ramp to get to the ground. But I think I like the full width idea more, coming out here. For one thing, I might want to enclose these sides later. Now I do realize that this is going to add some weight to the truck. I want you to know though, just sliding those big heavy stupid ramps off the truck raised it by 1/2 inch. Before I do way too much work building out this bed, I thought I'd come look around the junkyard for better candidates. No such luck. All the ones I was thinking of are either junk or gone.
Bluetooth mode.
Okay, taking it off of all those sweet jumps might have been a mistake. The starter re-broke itself. Yay, more money. Oh, the headliner's getting worse. I just bought everything that was screwed up in the front end. Now I'm off to buy steel, I guess. Jealous. Just like a real truck. Oh, she's just a little long. All of that steel, 4 20-foot sticks, did not lower this truck as much as those stupid ramps. 420 bucks in steel, nice. And about half that again in lumber, and this is looking like a bed. Some assembly required. Oh, all the stuff is on my sawhorses. And the bed is ready for disassembly, but I forgot one stop. The step I forgot was picking up the boom I've been storing to put on a truck just like this. But you know what? It's statistically impossible that I get this bed done today, so I guess we'll save that for another time. Step A, remove these little ramplet things. Don't think it's gonna be hard. I already regret not doing this in someone else's driveway. You definitely want to be totally sure before you start destroying things irreparably. So anyway, I started cutting. I only cut one of the welds. See if this one falls apart like Jenga too. Oh, okay, that weld might have done something, kind of. Next. Yeah, it's kind of attached to the frame. My sincerest apologies, but I'm not gonna bore you with every single cut. Just imagine this for like 20 minutes. Also sparks shooting everywhere. That was easy. Nice. Well, now it's just like a normal flatbed. Now I've got to get the winch out of the way. Shouldn't be too hard. Maybe it'll just rip itself off the deck. Let's see. Not enough poop. Yeah, I wouldn't bank on that one going back on. Time to start pulling decking, so grab my impact driver, right? Just back the screws out. Yeah, that's worked for exactly one screw so far. Yeah, I'm just gonna pry this crap up and cut them off or hit them with a hammer. I don't think it's gonna be too hard. What are those screws made out of? Butter? Oh, wow. Okay. Why did I pick like the warmest day so far to do this? I don't know. Anyway, it's going relatively quickly. All the wood's rotting to crap, so that makes sense. I think the worst part is going to be knocking all the screws off. Either cutting them, beating them with a hammer, or taking them out with vice grips. Either way is going to be terrible. We're going to need more of this. Also a whole bunch more of these. Like a lot. Got it figured out, I think. I'm going to cut the deck there. That'll give me 8-foot, 5-inch boards, something like that. 8.5 feet. The offcuts from those boards will be 3.5 feet, which is half of the 7-foot section I'm gonna have back here. I'll have them split in the middle on a cross beam. Well, it'll be like this. Anyway, the offcuts might be enough to deck the ramps, but maybe not. So I'm gonna cut it right here on the back side of that support. That'll be the back support for the decking up here. This section will no longer exist. This back piece, I'm gonna cut right there, and I'm gonna retain this inner groove. That's what the boards would have sat on the very back. I'm gonna take that thing and flip it around backwards. I'm gonna weld it in place right there against that beam. First, that'll all be super beefy at the transition point. And second, we'll have a lip here, and we'll have a lip here for the back section of boards. Of course, I'll probably have to bend it down at an angle slightly, but that's not gonna be a problem. The rest of this is gonna go. And that's what's supporting the back of this bed, so then the bed will be floating. I was thinking I probably wanted to pull the whole dang thing anyway, so that is fine. I mean, all it's secured with up front is 2 angled, not even tight bolts. And some rotten chunks of plywood, so got some work to do here. It's actually not that bad now, but the bed looks twisted slightly. It's high on the rear left corner. It looked really, really bad when I had that steel sitting on there. Could have something to do with the fact that it's barely attached to the frame, I guess. Anyway, before I start welding on frame extensions and permanently affixing pieces to the bed, I am going to try and level the frame where it's at. But I see no reason why I can't start cutting, so I'm just gonna do that. The best technique I've found for these bolts, screws, whatever they are, is one quick tap with the 4-pound sledge. Well, I can't do it left-handed, but anyway, I got pretty quick at it. What is this thing made out of? Oh, that's... I drew a line. Was I supposed to cut the line I drew? Apparently all the good welds in this thing were right there. But I got it hours later. Oh. Yeah, there you go. Well, now it just looks silly. Yeah, something like that. Of course, the bed's like an 1/8 inch wider here, so it doesn't line up perfectly, but it's good enough. Well, it's about as square as it ever could be. Broke out the farm jack, and now my acrometer says it's level enough. Let's weld this thing. You know, given the amount of prep I did, which was absolutely none, it's going pretty well. Oops. Well, you know what they say. Grind them until you find them. Trying to decide where to go next. I was thinking diagonals, but I've got it. If I do the frame extensions and then the tail piece, I'll know exactly where everything needs to go, and it might simplify things. You picking up what I'm laying down? Z'd frame extensions. Rad. We'll definitely have to add a cross member there, maybe there. I did some very, very simple math and realized that I could cut one of these 20-foot pieces into the 8-foot rear piece I need. That'll be the cross member with lights in it and stuff. And maybe a trailer hitch later. And 2 6-foot pieces for the frame extensions. Now, I know this will come as a shock, but I am not a master fabricator. In fact, I've never done anything remotely like this. I've thought about it a lot. I have a whole lot more experience with wood. The one cool thing about metal is that board stretcher that I was sent to look for when I was still green behind the ears. It actually exists in fabricating land. It's called a welder. Yeah, it's straight. Straight as it ever will be, and probably straighter than the frame. You can probably tell it's rolled slightly. That's because the frame's rolled slightly. I might try and straighten it after I join the two, but also I might not. Huh. I guess the brake clean wasn't all evaporated. I'm not emotionally prepared to final weld any of this stuff until I'm sure it's like square. But that's a good start. It'll hang on for now. I will end up fish plating that, you know, for strength and safety and stuff. But even that is something. Yeah, cross members. What a good idea. Okay, gotta square that one up, make sure the length is right, and then more welding, and probably more fire. Frogs. Had to stop for dinner. Now I'm cold. Anyway, I'm gonna try and get that one squared up and even, and then zap it in there. And then call it a night because I'm losing daylight. Those look like frame rails to me. Now that guy goes on the ends and also gets welded. After getting centered, of course. Madness, brilliance, maybe both. Well, I guess that means we're done for the night. Rad. I have never, ever welded new steel before. This is nice. I could get used to it. Look at that. That's a frame. It's not fully welded up there. It's not plated, but it's pretty sturdy. I mean, I don't know if it's ready to park a car on just yet, but it's pretty good. Pretty good. Well, that's just a random chunk of square tube, but pretty close to the vision or whatever. This is gonna be sick. Should I have checked to make sure it was square before I welded it? Yeah, probably, but it worked out, mostly. Well, it's a new day. No one finished this in the night, which is unfortunate. I've had this chunk of plate sitting in my collection for like a long time. These are some of the first welding passes I ever did. Anyway, I'm gonna cut that up and turn it into reinforcing plates here. I'm also gonna add some more reinforcement back here. Angled gussets out to the outside of that bumper for one thing. And of course, like 2 cross members here, I think. I cleaned up all my tools last night, except for the second most expensive one. It's pretty early here, so I'd like to be at least sort of quiet. Unfortunately, very few parts of this operation are quiet. I did find one, removing the rest of those horrible screws. Mostly just this front row left to do now. Yay, ready to rock. I think we discussed this bed was set up for 1-inch boards, and I'm using 2-inch boards, which are actually 1.5. Don't worry about that. Anyway, here's my genius plan for dealing with that. Just ignore it and screw them down. This is a tongue and groove 2x6. I've got the tongue facing the edge here, and it just happens to be at about the same height. Then we've got this. If I'm fancy, I'll run a router down this, smooth it off so it's less of a toe catcher. But also, I might not do that. The next thing I need to do before I can actually start measuring and cutting all the rear bed bracing stuff is replacing these blocks up front. They're horribly rotten. I happen to have a whole bunch of pallet offcuts, so I'm gonna use these. I wedged some 2x under the back here, but that ended up being too tall. I think this 1x stuff under all 8 mounting points, probably gonna be the best bet. I could take that wood out and mount the bed directly to the frame, but I don't know. I just like the idea of having at least a little bit of give here. That means the front of the bed is going to be softly mounted while the rear is going to be solidly mounted. Is that bad? I don't know. What you're saying is it's all fine?
I'm saying it's all fine.
All right then. So many noises. Why is that blinker falling off? You know, I've almost bought a plasma cutter multiple times. That would be really helpful about now. I switched circuits and plugged the welder straight into the wall. And now it blows the breaker over here. Nice. To be fair, I am just straight sending it, or giving her, or whatever it is the kids are saying. And yeah, it does actually seem to be penetrating. I really should be doing this with a stick welder, but I don't have one. No, you can't see my welds any closer. We're gonna need a bigger spool of wire. Yep, it's a fish plate. This is getting pretty good. Even plug welded these random holes in the frame. Pretty sure this thing's strong enough to park a semi on now. I'm not gonna do it, but I'm pretty sure it is. Ran out of weld wire. Of course, also cut off wheels, so I'll have to spend more money. Also, I'm not gonna let you see this, but some of my welds are getting kind of better. Well, that, like every other supply run, took way too long, but we're ready to go now. I did go for 35 wire. Let's see if it does something better. Yeah, this is what was holding this bed on. 2 of these. Good stuff. I did not expect this to go so well, you know, drilling holes in the frame, but actually, no big deal. I am already sweating. Shouldn't be sweating this early. I did go ahead and drop the fuel and brake lines. Hopefully I won't drill holes in them, but we'll see. All right, the main bed is firmly attached to the frame with 7 half-inch grade 8 bolts. Yeah, it still looks crooked, but I think that's because of how the truck's sitting. Time to level it like I was definitely planning to before I went any further. Yeah, no part of that bed is straight. Neither is the frame, so yeah, that's good. Anyway, it's better. The truck isn't sitting level, but I did run a level across the bed, the frame rails at the front, and the rear cross member, and everything looks good. At least relatively good. Anyway, moving on. There we go. Notches into there. I did have to flatten out part on the top. It'll sit up about a half-inch higher than that. And then notches over that. There's a flat piece that lays over that rear cross member. I'll either plate over that section, or I might even pie cut that, bend it up to meet it. We'll figure that out later. Kind of need to leave an hour from now. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'm gonna make sure this piece works over in the middle. I still have to notch that rear panel for it. And then I'm gonna duplicate it 3 times. And then I'm gonna weld them. And then I'm gonna add some stands and some gussets and some cross braces for wood. And then I'm gonna start cutting wood, like ASAP. Probably could have measured on this side first. Then I would have known that there's more than a 1/4 inch difference from side to side. Actually, all 3 of the others I think are this measurement, and only that outside one is shorter. Yes, halfway there. There you go. Oh, it's beautiful. I don't have any time to talk. I gotta get to welding. You know, the key to success in any fab project is careful measurement, precise, careful fit up, prep work, you know? Unfortunately, I don't have any of that, but I do have a bunch of extra weld wires, so here we go. Oh, also, I drilled holes for the outer ones. We'll weld that seam, but we can also plug weld them. That should help because I can't access the end of the tube in there. It's warm today. I'm sweating like inside my ears. Right ramp is welded, and I'm ready for some refreshment. I'm gonna slip and fall because this steel is still slimy, but this is pretty awesome. Plenty strong. Really glad I didn't try putting that gusset in before I welded that in. For some reason, I thought it would be over here, or maybe like right over the frame, but that would have been way too much work. This works out great. It gives us 2 foot of width there for the ramps. I mean, they're wide enough to put a dually on. Not that I would ever do that. Okay, obviously the license plate has to move. That's fine. I'm gonna do something different with the taillights later, like integrate them into that back bumper piece. But look at this. Someone did me a huge favor on taillight wiring and prepared for this eventuality. Really makes me think this thing had a mega long bed on it before. Anyway, I'm gonna flip that bracket upside down. Maybe cut it? I don't know. For now, they might just end up in here. I don't wanna talk about it. Ah, crap. I welded that without having the angle right. That's unfortunate. Easy enough fix, I guess. Oh, I forgot sunscreen again. Okay. Principal frame welding, done. I'm gonna add 2 45-degree diagonal gussets in there, and then I'm gonna add 2 vertical legs for the middle ramps there, just for some extra support. It'll be like a full triangle this way, you know. Then I get to put in stringers this way. I know I need 1 right in the middle, so I think it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 6 2-foot long sections of 2x3 square tubing. That could have been channel, but I got all square for some reason. That stuff will probably end up square with the bottom. Yeah, that'll leave a 1-inch gap. I might have to beat on that some more. I'm not quite sure how this is gonna work out. There is gonna be a lip, unfortunately. The 2x is gonna stick up here on both sides. The main thing I'd be worried about is using gravity to get the car down if there's a lip in the way. But the rear tires, remember, are gonna be like there. So that should never be a problem. I don't think this will come as any shock, given that this is all heavy-duty square tubing, but the section I built is a whole lot stronger than the original bed. Sit rep. Things are taking longer than I expected. Shocking, I know. The triumphant test drive for this thing is supposed to be loading up Stone Soup and taking it up to Rocket. Don't think that's gonna happen today. Also supposed to get the AC charged, which would be awesome, but yeah, it might be one of those another time type deals at this point. Here's one of those gussets now. A 3-foot piece with 45-degree cuts on the ends. If I was smarter, I would have done the middle one between the 2 different pieces, and that would have saved me like 2 inches of material and an entire cut. But I'm not. 1 gusset in. Oh, lightheaded. No, I don't want to talk about the fact that it's twisted that way and I could have cut that before I started welding. Look at all those angles. It almost looks like I know what I'm doing, which I don't. So there I was, laying on the ground on my side, welding on the frame of this thing, when I had a flashback to that time I got weld slag in my ear and had to go to the ER. Good times. Not 5 minutes later, a little piece of slag bounced out of the giant deflector dish that is my ear, but it didn't go into the hole. So that's the good news. Oh yeah, gussets. On to leg. I love it when a plan comes together, or whatever. I was gonna like notch that, send them in, and turn those into nice little triangle pieces, but you know what? I'm ready to be done. And that's 2. Ready to weld. I have like 1 inch left to weld on the second leg, and I just ran out of wire. Again. Whew. Good times. Seriously, so close here. All I've got to do are the ramp support cross members, and I'm gonna add 1 cross member in there. Mostly to build my platform on for storage later, but also to look good, I guess. Oh, well, I am staying hydrated, that's good. Oh dang, Mrs. Jamie got cider. Man, she's awesome. It's not getting cooler. Whee! Woo! Okay, 3 more pieces to go, and then a drink, and then wood. Break time thoughts. I'm so excited right now. And this has nothing to do with YouTube. This has been a dream for like a decade. I've always wanted to do this, and I'm almost done. I did have a thought that it would probably be wise to run outriggers that way to give extra support out here. You know what? I'm gonna stop having thoughts. This thing's already built like a brick crap house. It's gonna be fine. Oh, I did take a brief aside and nip and tuck that. Still needs some grinding, obviously. It's hideous. Welded. Totally welded. Now I gotta do a bunch of grinding and then clean all of that and then paint it black. I'm not gonna do the headache rack, which I did decide to keep, by the way. I'm gonna leave that red. Thing is, this truck's probably gonna get a cap swap at some point, hopefully in the near future. And I'll just paint the headache rack then. It's not just good, it's, yeah, good enough. Now I gotta clean the crap out of it. Check me out. I dropped the jack and the bed is just as straight as it was, which is to say not very straight, but it's not twisted anymore, so I'm gonna call that a win. I went in the house for fourth water and my wife informed me that I'm orange. So I wiped my forehead and that's what it looks like. Oh. I wiped all the scunch off and now it's time for the world's fastest coat of paint. Oh, that smells. The lighting's absolutely terrible, so I can't tell what I'm doing. It looks pretty good in person. I bet it actually looks really, really bad. But it's mostly black, except for this side, and I'm almost out of paint. I'm out of the good paint, and I'm out of time. So, good enough for now. It is mostly black, so that's great. Ugh. 2 cans down, it's black. Good enough. All of that is gonna get hidden by a couple panels. But that's not today, that's some other time. It begins. Now I only have to do that like 12 more times. Now I did neglect one small detail, and it's how to anchor the boards on this end. I think I'll probably just notch them to go up over that cross member and then screw them down and say a prayer. Something like that. So the thing about these tongue and groove boards and all 2x you can buy from the home supply store, frankly, is they're not straight. Especially that one I picked for the edge piece. So you can see daylight through there. I'm not gonna worry about it, I'm just saying. Here's what I'm using to secure the decking down to the steel. Actually works really well. I got 2 packs of them. I don't think that's gonna be enough. If you've never worked with this tongue and groove decking stuff before, it's pretty nice. You can get the tongue started in the groove and then just roll it down. Sometimes you gotta beat on it with a wood block and a hammer. Basically, completely inevitable that the lines will end up terrible. It's just how it is. I'll start checking the distance from that side to the board when I get a little bit farther. I may have to tweak pieces a little bit here and there, but in general, it should just kind of knock together. Here's a word to the wise. Don't run your hand satisfyingly across the boards you just installed. That's how you end up with these, and these hurt. Good news. I totally goofed up the math, and I'm a good bit short on material. How did I do that? The hotter it gets, the slower I work. It's not ideal. I'm down to 1 full-length board, but it's totally hideous and twisted and covered in my nasty fingerprints. Also rust. But anyway, this is what the deck looks like now. We're getting places. Oh, what, that little guy? I wouldn't worry about that little guy. Came to a realization. I was planning to do this with steel, but why don't I just do it with tongue and groove the same way? It'll be super tough. Heck, I could park like motorcycles on it if I had to. Yeah, maybe I'll just do that. I have every intention of building in ramp storage under here. That's not happening right now, so the lower deck will be perfect for that. We'll just get it done. Also, the spare tire. I probably won't actually do this part right now, but I want to build a back wall and then a cover here. No one needs to see all of this. It's pretty ugly. At least most of it wasn't my fault. You know, I had every intention of putting a trailer hitch on this thing. The frame rails are the right width because they're the width of factory frame rails. So I could have used this factory hitch, but it's kind of got some drop to it. So I measured the height of this back bumper. Then I went and measured the height of the factory under bumper hitch on my 3rd gen. They're almost exactly the same. So if I punch a hole through here and insert one of those receiver dealy bobs, weld it, and brace it, well, that would be a super great trailer hitch, and it probably won't drag on the ground all the time. At least any worse than this is going to already. I really want to get some surface mount tail lights. Maybe double brake lights, corner lights, and then triple clearance lights. Around the hitch? Under the hitch? I don't even know. Somewhere in there. Those are actually factory Chrysler tail lights. I still want to know how they managed to get the wires to be exactly the right length. I did think about trying to sink the lights into the deck there. I've seen that done, and it's kind of cool, but I don't think that's where we're going. Does everywhere get nuclear pollen this time of year, or is that just like a Northwest thing? Sure, it's legal, but I don't think the ground wire's grounded, judging by how the right one's blinking out, and the left one's not doing anything. I need to take this thing to get the rest of the decking. It's out of the hole. Neat. This is probably obvious, but I definitely need the exhaust to not dump here anymore. Remind me to steal that nice exhaust off the white truck. I was a little worried, as long as it is, it might swing out more than you'd expect and tag parked cars and stuff, but no, I think it's fine. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. It didn't twist at all, parked at a weird angle like that. I'm happy. I really thought this was gonna be done today. It's getting places though. More on that later, I guess. Oh look, more deck boards appeared. As if by magic. Nope, just money. This is getting really expensive. Anyway, there are also more things. Screws and flush mount lights and this thing, which we're probably not going to get to anytime soon. Eye on the prize, man. Eye on the prize. Well, it's a new day, and I'd like to see my family again sometime, so let's get this sucker done. I hope the lack of technical details doesn't take away from this. It's quite the achievement. I don't know how I pulled it off though, so I'm not sure I'm necessarily qualified to tell you exactly what to do. And I still haven't parked a car on it. The whole thing could fall off the back of the truck. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Anyway, I'm gonna take a break and build a planter box. Please hold. And I really wanted to get this sealed before that happened. Oh, what a horrible mess. The driveway may never be the same. I think I mentioned I have a windshield for this truck. There it is. Installing that's going to be outside of the purview of this video. We'll deal with that eventually. I also have a windshield for a 64 B-body 2-door hardtop. I don't know why. It's available. Finally dug out my framing pencil. This thing, let's just say these don't exist anymore. Flashbacks to my construction job are getting pretty serious. Remind me to replace my missing sawhorse. Wow, that's a new one. I was really hoping this would just magically work out, but surprise, surprise, it didn't. So I'm gonna have to rip a piece to fill in on the end here. First, I need to get these last pieces squared up, installed in the grooves all the way. As you can see, they're not there. So the measurement's off considerably right at the moment. So, we need a piece that fits in here. Now the opening itself measures about 3 1/8. And I'd like a little air gap there. Oh, also I still have this piece loose so I can pick it up. Anyway, 3 1/8, right? Well, that's great, but we also need to take into consideration the fact that there's a groove here. So the actual piece is gonna end up, I don't know, 3 5/8? Little less. The tongue is like 3/8. Anyway, I'm gonna mark 3 1/8 on the face here, and then probably take off a blade for safety. And then I can just kind of move it around a little bit and fill the gap in as best I can. Now, rip cutting a 2x like this is a walk in the park if you've got a table saw. And I've got 2, but they're currently here and here, so I don't think we're doing that. I happen to have a lot of experience rip cutting plywood with a skill saw, freehand. That doesn't mean I'm any good at it, it just means I have experience. I cut the board down to length first, which is 101/8. Just for the record, I could have scienced out the length of that board a little bit more when I was doing the dimensions on the bed and tried to save this amount of wastage, because that kind of sucks. I probably have a whole board's worth of end cuts like that. Well, almost, which means I wasted $15, but that's fine. I'll come up with something to do with those. Fire, if nothing else. You take some kind of measuring device, you put your 3 1/8 on the face there in several different locations, and you take a straight object and scribe a line. You could use another 2x for this, but they're not straight. Put your piece up on blocks, or sawhorses, because you're definitely going to cut through whatever's underneath it. And now it's time to totally screw up your piece. Wish I had a good worm drive saw. I actually have 3, but they're all dead. Anyway, you have a choice here. You can either put up a fence to block your saw in place, or just eyeball it. I'm probably just going to eyeball it. A problem arises when your material is such horrible, twisted garbage that the gap you cut starts closing as you're going. So I guess I'm gonna cut it off in blocks and keep going. Anyway, there's my free-handed cut. It's good enough for who it's for. It's straighter than the friggin' board, isn't it? Yeah. All right, I lost the plot a little bit right there in the middle. And I'll definitely be staring at that for the next 10 years pissed off. But hey, it's a truck bed. It's gonna be fine. Yeah, bed's not straight, material's not straight, but I'm happy with that. There you go, finished flatbed. Well, except for the nice routed edges. I don't think I'm actually gonna do that. Yeah, I really wanna be done with this. For one thing, it's today's video. Gotta screw those down and then rip a piece for in there. Do the same on the other side, of course. And then the bottom here is gonna get a little interesting. Here's my plan. Those 2x stick up about this high anyway. So what I'm gonna do is notch them underneath. I've gotta make a big notch for this and then a little notch for this. It's gonna go probably about halfway into the board. They'll sit on here, maybe out to like that point, and hopefully I can screw through them without, destroying every one. What I'll probably do after that is add a reinforcement plate over this end. I think it will be plenty strong, but if any place was gonna break, it would be right there. And given that that's right when a car goes on and off, that would be inconvenient. Let me get all this screwed down and then we'll do a test piece and see what that looks like. Woo! Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fully aware I shouldn't split all the boards together. Should have run long one, split, long one, split. Listen, it's going to be fine. This is going to be plenty strong. But if you're building a deck, try and be smarter. I meant to buy some 2x4s. That would have saved me some time. Let it be noted I have every intention of sealing that deck surface, but I also have every intention of putting a car on it immediately, and those two things don't go together, so sealing is either gonna wait or never happen. We'll see. Either way, there'll probably be tire tracks and boot prints sealed in there. Nice. Undo all my hard work. Waste some zip ties. God, I wonder why this light stopped working. It's so weird. Okay, few things to figure out and weld before I finalize the decking back here. First, tail lights. I need some kind of ramp mounting here. Now I have a couple ideas for that. Idea one was just cut a slot in this so the ramp would drop in there. And that would probably work. Idea two is, of course, hanging a bar off the back here. Now, if I do that, it needs to cover the whole ramp area, but I also need to have a light. So a light would have to go like there, and then whatever bar has to go over it, and hopefully it's visible. These would be way easier to build into the ramps. Yeah, nothing I ever tow is gonna be out here. The ramps aren't even that wide. So I guess I could do this, and then put the hangers there. Yeah, the ramps are only 15 inches. Well, that totally works. Of course, I'll run the bars out as far as I can, up to the light there. And that way, we can widen the ramps for varying vehicles. The A-body Mopars that are gonna be on here like 100% of the time, they're gonna sit right here. I came up with these scraps for mounting tabs. These are the offcuts from making those 45-degree angle gussets. So it could just sit like that, and then something goes in between. I gotta take off some of my new paint and weld some more. This kit includes fancy brackets, which I totally could use. I'd probably have to put them here, and then that becomes the thing that bottoms out on the ground. And I don't think that's a good idea. So I'll just use it as a cutting template, I guess. Yeah, like that, I guess. I have no intentions of towing with this thing anytime soon, but it is important to hedge my bets, and I decided to go ahead and get the cutting and welding on that done before I put a deck in the way. Apparently I set this on fire like 10 minutes ago. I left cutting to go do other things and came back to this. That could have been worse. Okay, that could not have possibly turned out better, especially given who's doing it. Super tight fit on the front. I went a little bigger on the back because I had worries about it lining up, but it's still pretty good. And now I'll get some good welds on there and should be super solid. I'll have to add some kind of safety hooks later. I just wanted to get the hard part done. For the ends of these oval holes, hole saw. I'm sure I'll get that perfectly centered the first try. Yeah, I don't think it's rated for this. Yeah, so brackets, what a good idea. All right, time to weld all that. Well, that's friggin' welded. I don't want anyone watching this to get the idea that I'm some brilliant fabricator. If you are a brilliant fabricator, you already know that. I'm just saying. There it is, the best looking weld on the whole truck. I've gone through 2.5 spools of wire and I finally figured out how to use the damn thing. Woo! Side quest, complete. Looks great, as long as you don't look at it. In case you haven't noticed, today's getting a little long in the tooth. So yeah, this is tomorrow's video now. Yay! I really need to put stone soup on the thing, but a commenter on the Instagram said I should test it by parking the Charger on the back. So yeah, I guess I have to do that now. Man, there have been GMA bodies everywhere this week. Hey, here's the last truck bed I built. It's kind of holding up, but it's been a really long time. Man, I love trucks. Not this one so much. This one's a piece of garbage. Well maintained. It's running like garbage, but it's a Vortex, so basically it needs a distributor cap. They always need a distributor cap. Ugh. I'm gonna hold my breath for the next half hour. Oh, I think we're back up to 7/8 of a 454. That's pretty good. The leaf problem is solving itself. Another one! Yay, dirt. For happy plants. You want more dog? There's more dog. Yay. Well, seems right. Well, it's hours later. And it smells like barbecue, which is delightful. How and why have I done this entire job without a bandsaw? Well, you won't believe this, but I figured out a ramp mounting solution. I took the very last scrap piece of the tubing there that was left over and measured it, and it just happened to be perfect for these. So one's welded in. Got to trim up the other, weld that one, apply some paint, do a bunch of other stuff, but finish the wood, cut down the ramps, and park a Charger on it, and call it a day. Photo finish. I used every shred of that tubing. I still have some of the smaller stuff left over, but anyway, time for some grinding and then some painting. I definitely don't want to talk about the fact that those are slightly crooked at all. Also, I don't want to talk about the fact that I forgot reverse lights exist. They'll go there. I'll get some super bright ones probably. I'm also thinking loading lights up on the headache rack. That'd be a nice idea. Ran out of the good paint again. Right at the end. It's fine. It's black now. Yeah. Surface mount would have been neater. That looks about right for ramp length. Of course, there's a hole here, so I should go check this in the street, but I'm not going to. That is a ramp. And I lifted it by myself, so that's a good sign. Guess how long it is? Guys will look at something like this and just think, hell yeah. They still need an angle cut on the bottom and a landing pad and maybe a trim there so they fit in the pockets a little bit nicer, but it's fine. They're looking good and they'll work. I've got the last of the ramp pieces cut out. Here's what the notching process looks like. Note, it's super ugly because I'm in a hurry and I don't really care. But I've got the saw depth set to right here, the bottom of the notch on the tongue there. It leaves plenty of material. I think this will be just fine. It's just as thick as the material I ripped off of this thing anyway. That actually does angle it up somewhat getting to the back, but I think I'm good with that. I don't really want to skinny it up anymore. Yeah, let's do that. 9 more times, and then rip 2 more pieces, and then screw them all down. If I implied that you should be in a hurry when using power tools, especially a skill saw, don't be. Oh yeah, that's the last ramp piece. Yeah, it looks like crap. Anyway, getting a hammer. That, I believe, is a working ramp truck. Don't worry about all the stuff I haven't done yet. Just bask in the moment. It's a ramp truck. It's got ramps, and it's a truck. There are a lot of details left to finish, like cutting these off and wiring the new ones, and mounting a license plate, and this deck, you know, the one I'm standing through right now. All in good time, Reginald. I'm completely out of time. So I've lowered my expectations to this. Let's see a car on it. I sure feel bad for whatever poor bastard has to clean this mess. Oh yeah. In case you were wondering, yes, it's still twisted up here. Yeah, sometimes it works. I can't even get in the Charger. God, I bet this is a long video. Just be thankful I'm not one of those guys that records every single thing he does. you know, time lapses of every single cut and measuring and that sort of thing. Oh, did I mention I screwed this car up? Yeah, I might have punched a push rod through a rock or something. Not sure. That's a later Jamie problem and a future video. All right. That, I believe we can all agree, is a charger on a ramp truck, which means it works. And there's where the tire is sitting. That's about the same as it was with the 63 Valiant on it with the old bed. It's back on the overloads, of course. Here's what that rear storage area looks like with the car on it. Actually, a little bit better than I thought. All right, could not possibly have a cooler view out the back window than this. It's not strapped down. So, we'll go for the world's slowest test drive. Because if that car fell off, I'd be upset. Airbags. Need to figure that out. But remember, the Charger's like 600, 700 pounds heavier than the cars I'll actually be hauling on here. It feels okay. It feels heavy. But it's fine. Next time, we do the windshield. Look at it. Just look at it. I've got one taillight. We're good. Remember, the Charger's also a good bit longer than the Demon, so there's that. But I have realized a trailer behind this thing with a car on it, yeah, not gonna happen. I could have pulled it up another 3 inches too. If I was using a winch, no problem, but just a little terrifying. I must say with this setup, it's way better than before because you can actually see the ramp so you know where you're at. Are you tired of seeing this truck? I bet you are. I am. But listen, I'm driving it to Tennessee in 2 weeks. Unless everything goes badly, so I really had to focus on this. I built this in 4 days. Like, more like 2 and 2.5 days, really, so. Yeah, I don't know. Whether you're impressed or not, I am. I have to step very far back to get the whole thing in the shot. Maybe next time we'll buff the truck. Maybe not. All right, I think that's enough. It's not done, but it's done enough. I'll get the winch done, I'll get the suspension and steering repairs and the rear deck and etc. done off camera. Next time you see this thing, it'll actually be a working truck. And don't worry, I've got lots of different stuff coming. I've got a wagon video coming finally. I've got a Barracuda video. I've got a Demon video, or 5. I've got a Charger video. There's all kinds of stuff happening. Now I just have to not back the Charger into anything. I'll try. You know, I've never really wanted a reversing camera before. I'm thinking, for this application, might just be a good idea. Anyway, until next time, thank you very much for watching. I mean that. I really appreciate it. Your views, comments, and subs help me in my quest for global domination. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do when I reach global domination, but, you know, we'll blow up that bridge when we get to it. And remember, follow your dreams. Buy the crappy truck. Fab like no one is watching. And stay hydrated. Yeah. It's better, but much lighter ramps. Definitely in the program someday. I never, ever want to do this again. I'm in the Challenger and I heard a new mechanical tapping sound. I was really worried for a second there till I realized it was in that Ford.